if I'm the Eagles, I hold out Boston Scott an extra week, not because I necessarily want to make sure he's healthy. I want to see a little bit more Trey Sermon, man. I want to see what Sermon can do. Give him a little bit more work. He only had 5 snaps last week. Tote the rock a couple times, picked up some first downs, moved the chains. Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook here. All right, seeing the place to be, broadcasting live from the Jersey Shore around the universe. It's the biggest, the best damn football show on the planet. God damn it. Talking NFL, chopping it up, little Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, all brought to you by the Ocean Casino Resorts down in Atlantic City. Get down at the gallery for the Eagles pre- and post-game. We're counting you down to this Eagles matchup. Just 3 days away. Traveling to the desert. Eagles 4-0, Cardinals 2-2. Buckle up. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be about it right here for the next 2 hours of power, taking it up to the Sports Take. Got a very good show lined up for you today. Of course, it's a Tutorial Thursday. So my guy, Dane Vandernat, will join us. Of course, Executive Director of the NFL PA Collegiate Bowl. We're all decked out. January 28th, 2023, the 11th annual NFL PA Collegiate Bowl. We're on location across the nation. We'll see what campuses Dane has been visiting. We'll sprinkle in some college football. We'll preview a little Thursday night football, get his opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are still the only remaining undefeated team. We'll also have our guy Neil Stratton later on as well, I think at 11 a.m. Eastern time, checking in from the DFW, Kyler Murray's neck of the woods. And we'll get our finger on the pulse with the scouting and agent community. Of course, we are 210 days away from the 2023 NFL Draft. That's what we do over at the NFLDraftBible.com, bringing you the names you need to know first since 2002. And you can get over 500 scouting reports for 2023 and beyond over on SI. So we're excited about that. Once the calendar flips over to January, we'll be bringing you all kinds of draft prospects and 411s on the top prospects of them all. And of course, that Saints draft pick, hey, Philadelphia, they could run the table. They could go undefeated and still have a top 3 pick. Wouldn't that be something? Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, though, Ricky. It is a great day here at the Jersey Shore. It's like 80 degrees after 6 days of straight rain. And today's back to being a summer day. So that's that Indian summer here in New Jersey on the October the 5th, October the 6th. Halloween right around the corner. It's getting scarier and scarier out there. Shout out to all our chat room people, Stephen McKell, Philly559, Shantasia, good morning. Good to see some new faces out there in the chat room. Thank you so much for waking up with us today. How about our good friend Howard Balzer waking up bright and early from the desert there on the Mac and Mac show? The sun doesn't set, so he's always up before sunrise. That Howard Balzer did a great job of breaking down the Arizona Cardinals. I'll get into the Cardinals a little bit more later on as the show progresses. Again, Ric Serritella here with you today. But I want to start off with the Nick Sirianni press conference from yesterday. Not quite as long as the one on Monday or Tuesday, which was over 20 minutes. This one, really not a whole lot to take away. He said he's still hopeful on the injuries. Jake Elliott is a guy that, sounds like we just don't know. And I did hear Howard Balzer say the Cardinals are going to be without their kicker, Matt Prater. They signed someone, Matt Amendola, who we had at the NFL PA Collegiate Bowl at Oklahoma State, I believe. So they signed Matty Amendola, who's been around. The Eagles signed Cam Dicker, the kicker, who was just happy to be here. He got his little taste of Philadelphia media yesterday. Said, hey, I'm just hanging out. Was hanging out on the couch down in Austin, Texas, and had no clue. Never been to Philly. A little bit colder out here. Welcome to Philly, Dicker the kicker. But in terms of Sirianni, said, hey, we're hoping all these injuries might pan out. No word definitively on Jordan Mailata or Andre Dillard. They're still holding out hope on Dillard, I believe. I don't think, from what I heard, I'll get into the injuries a little bit later. I don't think Mulata's going to play. So it could be Driscoll, who Sirianni said, hey, this guy's got extremely high football IQ. We call it FBI, football intelligence. His versatility, is one of the main reasons why he's on this roster. And the preparation that this guy puts in. He puts in the work. He's very smart, cerebral, team-first mentality. Yes, Driscoll, I thought, played fairly well. He did allow 3 pressures and a sack, and I think he had maybe a penalty off the top of my head. But I think overall, SMD Eagles, you're right. Driscoll, Opeta, who could be in line for some more work with the Seumalo injury, I thought held his own. Driscoll played like 40-something snaps, Opeta like 20. And, hey, call in the backups. That's what contenders do. Next man up mentality. Howie Roseman has built tremendous depth, and that's why, I saw a couple comments floating around in the chat room on Mac and Mac. One, people out there, and I think we got Cowboys invading the chat room. Be prepared for that next week. I got a slew of my good Cowboys compadres from the media brethren that are going to join us on next week's shows to preview the Cowboys-Eagles. But somebody was in there talking nonsense about the Eagles never beat a good team. Jalen Hurts never beat a good team. Hey, good teams beat poor teams. That's what they do. They beat the teams put in front of them. We can't make up the schedule. All they can do is take care of business, and Jalen Hurts is taking care of business, working overtime. In terms of Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox, I heard, I'll go through the injuries because I know that's a big to-do. Our guy, Brandon Lee Gouton, I believe. I got some intel from him. Mulata's going to be out, he said. It will be Dillard or Driscoll at left tackle. Avonte Maddox is likely to be out, according to Brandon Lee Gouton, who has he's there every day. So in that case, it'll be Josiah Scott at the slot. And Driscoll, I misspoke. Driscoll played 76 snaps, as a matter of fact. 76 snaps, 3 pressures, 1 sack allowed, 1 penalty. So, hey, not bad, guys. Remember that we talked about Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, what a force they were. Not a bad day's work punching in the time card there for Jake Driscoll, okay? Other injuries, where did it go? Maddox out, more Josiah Scott most likely. Jake Elliott did not practice yesterday. Johnson & Johnson, Patrick, and Kyron, they are both in the concussion protocol, so they probably will not play, especially off of what happened with the whole Tua Tagovailoa debacle that, the NFL and NFLPA are going to have some kind of announcement on the investigation. They need another day or so on the investigation, and they're going to release the report in terms of what exactly happened. And then, Seumalo looks like a 50-50 proposition. So if not, Opeta would go. Boston Scott, same deal, 50-50 proposition. If I'm the Eagles, I hold out Boston Scott an extra week, not because I necessarily want to make sure he's healthy. I want to see a little bit more Trey Sermon, man. I want to see what Sermon can do. Give him a little bit more work. He only had 5 snaps last week. Tote the rock a couple times, picked up some first downs, moved the chains, had a penalty, I think face mask. And, when he was in there, they definitely looked to get him involved in the game. So I would love to see Trey Sermon on another 1-week tryout basis, holding out Boston Scott. Hold out Boston Scott to the Giants game. All good. And then, Darius Slay, actually, guys, was a full participant in yesterday's practice. So that's actually looking pretty good for those of you who were curious. And that's encouraging to hear. Full participation from Darius Slay. So Zach McPherson, I thought, did a great job, and he'll be called upon if needed. And that is your injury update, courtesy of Brandon Lee Gouton, who hopefully we'll have on the football playbook at some point in time. I know he's been making the rounds out there in the JAKIB Sports universe. Yes, if Scott is out, I do think you see Sermon's workload increase. Absolutely. We saw in a very limited body of work, five reps, maximize his touches. I don't know the stats offhand, but I liked what I saw. Only a couple touches. I want to see more of it. I want to know, is Sermon that big back guy that the Eagles need? Do they need to go and explore the trade market? I saw Rashad Penny, I think, hit the injury report this week with a shoulder. Does that make the Seahawks more susceptible of trading him or less likely of trading him? I don't know. But why give up? You know, if you're trading for Rashad Penny, I think he's in the final year of his deal. I believe he was a first-round pick. You're probably looking at like a fourth or fifth round pick, contingency based on performance, maybe that can be converted into a third. Maybe I think it's a fifth, probably a fifth that could be converted into a fourth or third based on incentives. And I would do that. I mean, even if it was a third, because the Eagles have so much draft equity, I'm so all in on this season. All the chips are stacked, all the pieces that you have. Rashad Penny, to me, man, partner, and I'm a Gainwell fan. Let's not get it twisted. I like me some Kenny Gainwell, despite the kind of streaky performance this year. I like me some Gainwell, but man, Penny and Sanders in that backfield with Hurts, woo. Hurts was talking about the wishbone in his presser. I'll get to that. But, man, Penny, yeah, you're right. Dank, Penny's always been injured his whole career. And so has Miles Sanders. So, to me, we're still in week 4 or 5. Aflac. We've seen it with the offensive line. We see it in the secondary. You can never have too much insurance. If Miles Sanders does go down, you feel better about having Penny and Gainwell or just Gainwell? I feel really good about having Penny, and you hope that balancing the both of them keeps them healthy over the course of the season. And it's a 1-year rental. And I would try to give up like a fourth or a fifth if I had to. Gun to my head, if I could have Rashad Penny for the final 10 games of the season for a third-round pick, just as a 10-game rental into the playoffs, I'd do it. I would, because I'm all in on this season. If it's not costing me a top 100 pick, round 3 is right around 100, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I want to edge. Man. Sticking to the Sirianni presser here, he did get into his Mount Union days where he played wide receiver and, of course, got his coaching start. And, our good friend Johnny Mack asked him, Jonathan Gannon was under a directive to apply more pressure, and Sirianni was asked to elaborate on that. And he said something that Coach Keiris taught him at Mount Union was, hey, we got a bunch of great coaches in our coaching room inside our building and facility. And so he said the one big difference between coaching college and coaching the NFL is in the offseason. In college, you're out there recruiting, you're out there making the trips, making the rounds. There's always something to do. In the NFL, what he has his coaches do is present. Offensive coaches to defensive coaches, veteran coaches to younger coaches. And he said, the knowledge in our own room, we could still go to coaching seminars, but he said having our coaches present to each other during the offseason is something he put a big emphasis on, and he's something he learned early on in his coaching days. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. And he said, I just ask everybody from my coaches and my players to be super intentional on how they connect and how they compete. So we know Coach Sirianni is a big communicator. Zach Ertz said, during his media presser that Sirianni knows how to connect to his players. He really understands how to relate to the players and made him comfortable, even though it was an uncomfortable final 18 months or so in Philadelphia, said Sirianni was nothing but a class act. Now, we got the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the bye week. He did say during the bye week, it's a great time to kind of prioritize the checklist of where they need to get better. And the Philadelphia Eagles titled this video, Constantly Trying to Get Better, which I feel like almost every Nick Sirianni video that's posted on the Eagles website is called Constantly Trying to Get Better. That is the theme. And I will say he's got a little bit of Matty Patricia going on, and he's almost got like, I guess he clips the pen over the visor, either that or he has a Velcro, and it's not a pencil but a pen, but he's got a little Matty Patricia going on in terms of stylistic appearance, that Nick Sirianni. So that was the Nick Sirianni presser. Jalen Hurts fielded about 10 minutes of questions from the assembled Philadelphia media brethren and had zero questions. He said, I got no questions about the Cardinals. He did get a few about Kyler Murray because of they're both from the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. Said he's always admired Kyler Murray from afar. He's a Texas high school football legend. He won every single game of his career in high school, which in Texas is a big deal, right? And then he talked about, paving the way for him to come to Oklahoma and how it was a collaborative effort. And he talked to Kyler before he made that decision to transfer from Alabama to Oklahoma. So he did get into the whole Kyler Murray. He was asked about Zach Ertz. He said he learned a lot from Ertz in just his preparation, both on and off the field. And he said, I got nothing but respect for Zach Ertz and Kyler Murray. So he was asked about the Cardinals a little bit, and most of it focused on the Manning cast, the sweatshirt he wore, haters gonna hate, keep hating, or whatever the sweatshirt said. He bought it in the summer, just liked it. Okay, whatever. But he said, hey, always was friendly with the Manning boys, going back to his days of attending the Manning Passing Academy down there in Louisiana each and every year. So they had him on the Manning cast. I did not see it, but apparently he said there was a lot of 3 and outs, so he didn't get into too much storytelling. It was kind of his first experience doing that sort of media venture type of element. He did say he studies Tom Brady a lot, which had me scratching my head and questioning, how much are you studying Tom Brady? If you say you study him a lot, but you were blown away that you had no idea he was benched at Michigan, I get it. You're studying him a lot, but you don't really know the story of Tom Brady if you don't know that Drew Henson was starting over him at Michigan. So, hey, I jest, I razz the Hurts. I give him so much praise. I'm allowed to have a little bit of criticism of Jalen Hurts. I think I'm the biggest Jalen Hurts train conductor on this platform and network here at JAKIB Sports. So, calling him out a little bit just to have a little fun here. But he said, hey, I appreciate the trust that he's earned from Coach Sirianni. Sirianni emphasizing in his presser why he goes for it on 4th downs. The other day said, I believe in Jalen. I believe in Jalen. I believe in Jalen. Hey, media, did you hear what I said? He said, I believe in Jalen. I want you to get that out there and make sure that you know that. So when Jalen was asked about it, he said, I definitely appreciate that. That's earned. It's not given. And he said, 4th down plays are so critical. Those are pivotal moments of the ball game. So he appreciates the trust factor there. He did get into, I guess there was a Tubby Raymond, Delaware reference. And he joked he ran the wishbone back at East Houston during his youth football days as a East Houston Cougar. So a little bit of a lighthearted moment there. Couple other notes from the press conferences yesterday, getting you brought up to speed here. I watched hours of these press conferences and giving you the cliff notes so you don't have to in case you missed it. Hassan Reddick, of course, your NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Said it was his most complete game as a Philadelphia Eagle, his most complete game as a pro. I think he said was 2 years ago. He had like 5 sacks against the New York Giants. So I'm sure he has the Giants circled on his calendar. But he gave nothing but praise to his teammates and coaches for winning that award. And he did, coming over from Arizona, said, how much intel are you giving your teammates? He said, absolutely. We're talking about it. I'm letting them know what to prepare for, what to expect. He said, but at the end of the day, we don't need to be doing anything different. We just need to stay in our lane, do what we do best. And if we execute and keep doing what we do, we don't have to adjust or adapt for Kyler Murray. And he said, listen, the guy has got tremendous feet, can beat you as a runner, has got extraordinary arm talent, can make some rare throws. And so, he said, other than that, no need to change. He did say, however, his personal game plan does change based on the opposing offensive tackle. And I think he was talking more specifically about his pass rush repertoire. And they were talking about, hey, some guys you got to beat with speed, some guys you got to beat with power. How do you kind of game plan or strategize for that? He said it's week to week, depending on the opponent. He does the film study, and then he kind of dictates his personal attack going into that week's matchup. Brandon Graham had a funny quote. Not on Kyler Murray. He did say conditioning would be important for this game, specifically when it came to Kyler Murray. And then when asked about Zach Ertz, Brandon Graham's always good for a joke or two. But he was serious, but he wasn't. Said, what can you tell us about Zach Ertz? He said, great route runner. And he said, we know Zach just like he knows us. And he said, I know this. He's not out there trying to block any of us. He said, no knock against Zach, but we know Zach pretty good. He ain't going to be out there looking for a slobber knocker affair. He's going to be out there looking to run some routes and catch some passes. He did, backtrack a little bit and said, he's gotten more involved in the blocking game there during his time in Arizona. But he said, we know he ain't coming. He ain't coming for us. He ain't coming looking to block us. He don't want that heat. So Brandon Graham issuing the personal challenge to Zach Ertz. And then, Jason Kelce spoke. He had the longest press conference of them all. And he, too, is dabbling with the media experiment. Him and Travis Kelce have a weekly podcast that he seems to get asked about now each and every week. I have not heard that yet. He said it's about an hour and a half each week. I barely have time to wipe my ass over here. Never mind listen to another hour and a half podcast. No offense, Jason. But I said, listen, the Eagles offense, we've got playmakers all around. He did let us in on the Jordan Mailata injury when he was talking. I don't know if this was secretive or not, but he did say that the Mailata injury, not as serious as we first thought. That's Jason Kelce's words. Take that for what you want. And then he was talking about Stoutland, and somebody asked him the question if Stoutland would make a good head coach. And without any hesitation, he said, absolutely. Then he realized, like, hey, my quotes are probably going to be made into something bigger than what they are here. Let me just kind of elaborate. Went on to say he's just so knowledgeable, experienced, strategic, motivational. He's responsible for the hungry dog runs faster quote. And then he said, he's such a great teacher because what he does during practice is he basically cold calls on you and he puts you on the spot. And it's called situational football. And he calls out a situation. He'll point to an offensive lineman. He tells you, hey, what do you do in this situation? And if you don't know your P's and Q's, he said Stout is going to chew you out, right? He's going to hold you accountable. But he said, what a great technician, and just the intensity, passion, and energy that he brings each and every day. Jason Kelce said he's in awe. He's in awe of the intensity, passion, and energy that Stout brings on a day in and day out basis. So those were your Eagles press conferences from yesterday. I do have more news and notes in the football playbook here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you click subscribe for all of our show notifications and smash that like button. It's all brought to you by the Ocean Casino Resorts. Now, when we come back from the commercial break, time is flying today already, a half hour into the show. We're going to have Dane Vandernatt, Executive Director of the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, of course, a decade with the Oakland Raiders as Director of Pro Personnel. I'm going to ask him what he makes of this Philadelphia Eagles ball club, what the mentality inside the building is like with the only undefeated start in the NFL. And also, how do you game plan or prepare for a Kyler Murray? Hassan Reddick said, you know what? We don't need to adapt and adjust. Well, I might think differently, my friends. So we'll get up with Dane Vandernatt right after this. Keep it locked.